What if the U.S. economy collapses? It is a question that can feel overwhelming, a thought many try to push away. But facing this question is not about creating fear. It is about understanding risk so we can be prepared. Imagine a normal Tuesday morning. You are at a coffee shop. Your phone buzzes with a news alert. The stock market has been frozen. Your banking app will not load. The person ahead of you tries to pay, but their card is declined. Then another. This is not a scene from a movie. This is the first ripple of a system in crisis, a moment where the familiar rules of everyday life begin to change in an instant, all set to the quiet, unsettling hum of uncertainty. How could a modern economy like that of the United States actually collapse? The reasons are not as complex as you might think. They are often rooted in problems that build up slowly until a single event pushes the system over the edge. One of the biggest causes is massive debt. U.S. government, corporations, many households carry trillions of dollars in debt. This works while lenders keep lending at low rates. But if confidence falters and lenders demand their money back or refuse new loans, the flow of credit can seize up almost overnight like an engine running out of oil. Another major trigger is widespread banking failure. Banks are central to our economy but operate on a promise. You can withdraw money when you want, but banks don't keep all cash in vaults. They lend most of it out. If panic triggers mass withdrawals, a bank run, banks would not have enough cash. This is what happened during the Great Depression. Even with safeguards like the FDIC, a large, digitally driven bank run could overwhelm the system and force many institutions to close, freezing access to money. In the first moments of a true economic collapse, the effects would be felt digitally and immediately. Before you see empty shelves, you would feel it through your phone. You might get a text message from your bank announcing a temporary hold on all electronic transfers. ATM screens would flash an out-of-service message. Credit and debit card systems could go dark. They process millions of transactions per second. This initial freeze is designed to stop a digital bank run, but its effect on the public is instantaneous. Every person who relies on digital payments for gas, for groceries, for a morning coffee would suddenly find their financial power switched off, leaving them with only the physical cash in their pockets. Within the first hour, the news would spread like wildfire, and the first physical signs would appear. Stores that are still able to operate would switch to cash only. People would rush to get cash, but the ATMs would already be empty or offline. Banks would be ordered to close their doors to prevent riots and massive withdrawals. This creates a terrifying trap. Your money is in the bank, you can see the balance on a statement, but you cannot access it. The value of the cash in your wallet would suddenly skyrocket, not because it is worth more, but because it is the only thing that works. In the face of a systemic collapse, the government and the Federal Reserve would not stand by idly. They have a playbook for crises, but the scale and speed of a total collapse would test its limits. The first action from the Federal Reserve would be to inject liquidity into the banking system. Massive short-term loans directly to banks to keep them solvent and prevent domino failures. They would also likely slash interest rates to zero to encourage any lending that remains. These tools are like a defibrillator, where they can restart the system, but they cannot cure the disease underneath. The federal government would simultaneously take dramatic steps. The President and Treasury would likely declare a bank holiday, legally closing banks for several days. This is meant to stop the panic, give banks time to assess damage, and allow the government to formulate a plan. They'd work on a rescue package, possibly guaranteeing all deposits, not just the FDIC limit of $250,000. That guarantee aims to restore trust, but Congress would need time to debate and pass it, leaving the public anxious and uncertain. A bank holiday and bailout promises don't solve problems on the street. People still need access to money for food, gas, medicine. The government might try emergency cash or supply distributions, but the logistical challenge is immense. How do you reach 330 million people when transport and payment systems are broken? Delays would be inevitable. Political fights could stall plans. Every hour of delay deepens crisis, erodes trust, pushes society closer to chaos. For families across the country, an economic collapse would transform everyday life with breathtaking speed. The first and most pressing concern would be securing basic necessities. The modern habit of buying for just a few days becomes a critical vulnerability. With supply chains broken and stores emptied by initial panic buying, finding food becomes a primary daily activity. Diets would change overnight, shifting from fresh produce and meats to rice, beans, and canned goods. For infants or special diets, this could become life-threatening. Without a functioning economy, millions would lose jobs simultaneously. No money for rent or mortgage payments. A moratorium may come, but stress would be immense. Access to electricity, water, heat becomes uncertain. Utilities unable to receive payments could ration service or face failures they cannot fix. Families might conserve water, heat only one room, and prepare for frequent outages. Health and safety become paramount. Access to critical medicines is a challenge. Pharmacies unable to restock force rationing. Minor injuries can become serious without clinics or supplies. A breakdown in social order could raise crime in some areas. Families rely on themselves and neighbors. Neighborhood watch and cooperation become essential. The psychological toll is enormous. Constant stress about food, safety, and the future strains relationships. Parents must explain while keeping hope. Loss of jobs and savings wounds identity. Resilience depends on practical skills, preparation, and strong bonds. Simple acts of sharing and mutual support become the most valuable currency. A collapse of the U.S. economy would not be contained within its borders. It would send a powerful shockwave across the entire globe. The U.S. dollar is the world's primary reserve currency. Central banks from China to Germany hold vast amounts to back their systems and trade. If the dollar suddenly loses value or becomes unstable, a global financial panic erupts. Countries holding trillions in U.S. debt see savings evaporate. Drastic measures follow, risking cascades of bank failures and currency crises worldwide. International trade, the global economy's lifeblood, would seize. The U.S., the largest consumer market, stops buying. Factories overseas shut, leading to mass layoffs as cars, electronics, clothing go unsold. Consider Mexico, deeply tied through trade and remittances. A U.S. collapse devastates exports and halts remittance flows, plunging the economy into depression. Interconnected markets amplify the crisis. Stocks plunge in London and Tokyo. Firms with U.S. exposure collapse. Trillions in wealth vanish, hitting pensions and savings. Global banking ties spread failures. Chaos breeds geopolitical instability, nationalism, protectionism, closed borders, trade wars. Alliances fracture. Resources are hoarded. In extremes, desperation fuels extremism and conflict. A U.S. collapse pulls the keystone from the arch of the current world order, threatening to bring the entire structure down. Seeing the potential for such a crisis can be frightening, but fear is only useful if it motivates action. You can turn anxiety into security with calm, practical steps. The goal is not a bunker. It's a reasonable buffer for the initial shock. The first step, build an emergency cash fund. In a digital failure, cash is king. Aim for 1 to 2 weeks of essentials in small denominations, 5s, 10s, 20s, secured at home. Second, establish emergency food and water. No need for specialty rations. Buy a few extra non-perishables each trip. Stock what your family actually eats. Beans, vegetables, tuna, rice, pasta, oats, peanut butter, protein bars. Target 3 weeks per person and 1 gallon of water per person per day. Third, organize vital records. Birth certificates, passports, social security cards, property deeds, insurance, in a fire-waterproof container with digital copies on a passworded thumb drive. Ask your doctor about an extra month of critical meds. Buy a solid first aid kit and consider basic first aid and CPR training. Fourth, reduce financial fragility. Cut non-essentials, use the savings to pay down high-interest debt like credit cards, and build accessible savings. Every dollar saved and every dollar of debt eliminated is one less worry. While individual preparation is critical, true resilience is found in community. Your most valuable asset in a prolonged crisis is your neighbors. Build a network now. Who is a nurse? Who is a mechanic? Who grows food? Sharing skills and resources forms a powerful support system. Organize a basic plan, a check-in point, ways to share information and care for the most vulnerable. Develop practical, non-financial skills. Learn home and auto repair to fix a leak or change a tire. Cook from scratch. If possible, start a small garden. Think beyond the immediate. A small solar generator, solar chargers, lanterns for light and communication, a water filter for rain or river water, alternative heat, cooking like a wood stove or propane camp stove. Maintain a calm, informed mindset. Information gets chaotic and weaponized. Rely on trusted sources and critical thinking. Avoid obsessive catastrophizing. Focus on what you can control. Preparations, skills, community connections, societies that endure, adapt, cooperate, and maintain hope. Building resilience is a marathon, not a sprint, begun with small, steady steps. The prospect of an economic collapse is daunting, a specter at the edges of our prosperity. We have walked through the potential causes, the terrifying speed of its onset, and the profound ways it would reshape our world. Global trade, the food on our dinner tables. It is natural to feel fear, but do not let it paralyze you. Channel it into productive, rational action. Preparation is the antidote to panic. Take control in an uncontrollable situation. History teaches us lessons. The Great Depression, the financial crisis of 2008, recent supply chain disruptions. Yet governments respond. Communities come together. Individuals who are prepared fare better. The future is not written. A full-scale collapse is a possibility, not an inevitability. Measured, thoughtful steps show foresight. Small, deliberate actions give you power. You don't need a fortress or decade-long hoard. You need a small buffer, a safety net for the initial chaos. Ensure your family has food. Ensure your family has water. Ensure your family has security. Your 5-step plan. Step 1. Build a cash reserve. Step 2, store food. Step 2, store water. Step 3, organize documents. Step 3, secure medicines. Step 4, reduce debt. Step 4, cut non-essential spending. Step 5, connect with your community. Step 5, plan mutual support.